Welcome back, beautiful souls, to another episode of Cosmic Confluence. I'm your host Avik, and today, ladies, especially you, the founders, need you to pause, take a breath, and ask yourself one sacred question. Would you, uh, what would my life, my business, and my joy look like if I filled my own cup first, consistently? Just think about it. Great, right? So do let me know what your perspective is and what you think about this. So joining us today is a woman who has walked that journey from burnout to the boldness, from giving her all to others to finally choosing herself. Linette Cottrell. So welcome to the show, Linette.
Thank you. Thank you. I am really honored to be here.
Lovely, lovely. So, Lynette, like before we start, I'll quickly love to introduce you to all of our listeners. Dear listeners, Lynette is not just a radical self-love guru. She is a calming force, a systems master, and a spiritual warrior in every sense of the word. So, with decades of experience managing the financial guts of entrepreneur business and now walking her own solopreneur path, she blends the sacred with the strategic. So she is certified in breathwork, trained in Yalna, uh, Van Zandt Spirituals Warrior Program, and the author of your 90-day success journal for Black women entrepreneurs. So she's also about turning healing into action with what she calls as sacred small steps. Yes. So this is for every founder who's ever lost herself in the grind? Um, every nurturer who forget her own name in service of everyone else, and every woman who's ready to love herself radically and rise from that place of power. So why do wait? Let's begin. Welcome to the show again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Lovely. So, Lynette, like you speak of radical self love, not the casual or the performative self care. So, uh, if you can break down what radical self love really looks like, especially for female.
Sure. Yes. So when you think of the word radical, if you look up the definition of it, you will find things like the root of foundation. Then you will also find extreme, strain from the usual and conformity. So radical self-love is really a combination of those both things. It should be the foundation that we start with when we're looking inward, but it should also be different from what's usually done out there, right? Different from the conformity of society. So there are four main pillars in radical self-love that I like to talk about that makes it a little more easier to touch and feel. The first one is self-acceptance. And what that basically means is having unconditional love for yourself. So when we think about self love, we usually think about it on a really surface level. Like, yeah, I love myself, but I'm talking about a deeper love. I'm talking about you're the only person who really knows all your faults, all your failures, all your weaknesses, but you also know all your strengths and all your accomplishments. So being able to look at that as a whole and still say, I love me, right? Self acceptance, unconditional love. So, not that surface love, like, yeah, I'm good with myself, but the deep love. I know I had faults. I know I made a mistake, but hey, I still love me. The second pillar is self care. So, when I talk about self care, yes, we need those pampering type experiences, the spa day, the taking ourselves out to dinner, but we also need to nourish our mind and our spirit. So, not just the body care stuff, but nourishing our mind and our spirit. What do we feed our minds to make our minds stronger? What do we feed our spirit to make our spirit easier to hear? So that's the type of self care. And then you have self worth, which is recognizing that you are valuable, right? And you won't settle for less. Worth is a really big one because it's saying you give yourself permission to be valuable despite what anyone else's opinion may be of you, right? You hold that space for yourself. And then the last pillar I like to share is self expression. That's giving yourself permission to be fully and unapologetically yourself. So, not shrinking in certain places. Sometimes we're in certain environments and we shrink, we get quiet, we don't speak up. But being able to say, okay, this is the full expression of me, and I'm going to live in this full expression. So those are four things that really help people to see and touch what radical self-love is really all about.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. So, hmm, I mean, uh, if I talk about this, how can a woman tell if she is operating from burnout versus truly nourishing herself?
Okay. So one key way to tell is if you find yourself
Hmm.
super multitasking,
Okay.
right? So if you find yourself doing many things at one time, and while you're doing thing A, you're thinking about thing B and C, what you got coming up next, right? There's no space for you to breathe and just relax.
Yeah.
And usually you'll feel guilty if you do take space, if you do rest. It's like
Mm.
if I were to say to a woman who's experiencing burnout, if I was to say, go take a nap, that would be like the most radical statement I could have said to her. And she would
Mm.
be like, what? I don't have time to take a nap, right?
Yeah.
So that's a simple test. If you would test yourself and say,
Mm.
can I go take a nap? Can I take a break? Can I take a rest? And if you feel all of this stuff coming up in you saying, no, you got too much to do. You're supposed to do this for that person and this for that person. And that would be lazy for you to rest. That's a very easy place to start.
Mm. Got it. So, I mean, I have to say that sometimes we don't even realize that we are running on fumes until someone gives us that permission to slow down. So,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And you have walked deep in the trenches of entrepreneurial finance, and now you are walking your own founder path. So, what did burnout teach you that uh, numbers never could?
So for me, the process was just realizing that I was so busy all the time working in business for other people that I wasn't really tapping into what I wanted to do as far as living this life, right? Because living this life is much more than just um, being responsible in a career and excelling at a career.
Mm.
That is not supposed to be our main activity of living. And a lot of times we end up putting so much of our attention into that part of our lives that it just takes up so much space. So not just career, but career and family and extended family and friends. We let so many things take up space that we get used to the busy activity. Right? And we don't, and to your point, we don't even realize that we're burnt out until something within us crashes. That's usually the alert most of us get. Something crashes, or we get that intuitive feeling that, we're not really satisfied. We're not really living the life we want to live. And we become very good at pushing that feeling down in a way. And I got too much to do to sit here and, think about what this really means for me. I have too much to do to feel this. But something usually happens that make it so that we have to stop. We have to feel it. We have to listen to that voice. And then we decide we want to change things. So for me, that was being so busy building the financial departments of other companies and then finally feeling like I'm not even enjoying this anymore. right? I really, it's not fulfilling to me anymore. So what would I rather be doing?
Mm.
Right? So you have to really make a pivot from just doing all the time to listening to what you really feel about what you're doing because it's allowed to change. You can be passionate about something this year and next year. Okay, that's not fulfilling me anymore. And you owe it to yourself to stay that connected that you hear that and you understand what it means for you.
Okay, amazing. So, uh, how did that loyalty not being reciprocal moment shift your inner world and your boundaries?
Well, what it did for me was it made me take a seat, get still, and start
Mm.
thinking about, okay, well, how do I really want to live? And the thing that happens, when you start thinking about how you want to live, is you come into a space where it's you have two things in your mind. One is it's just a big dream, right? Is it possible? The other is, oh, it feels so wonderful if I did this. So there's a bridge you have to cross between those two. The first part is this would feel wonderful. So you have taken the time to decide what would feel better for you at this point in your life, giving you knowing that it may change later, but right now, this year, if I could do this, that would be wonderful. On the other side of that is, yeah, but how? Is that possible? So the bridge between is really a growth process that we have to go through because the mindset we have today, just thinking about the dream, has to grow into believing in the dream. It has to grow into knowing that we're worthy of actually living that dream.
Okay.
And so for me, that looked like, taking the spiritual warrior course from Ayala Van Zant and going through that process. That I think it was like a 9-month course that I took with her. It looked like reading self help books and being in tune with the parts that really connected with me and then going deeper into those. It meant coming up because whenever you say, "I wanna do something great," or "I wanna live my dream," any trigger you have within you, anything unresolved is gonna show up. It's gonna come to the surface. It's gonna challenge you. It could be your self-esteem, it could be your self-worth, it can be imposter syndrome, it can be somebody told you when you were 6 years old that you were not able or that you were stupid. Whatever it is that you're holding within your body, within your emotions that you've pushed down and haven't dealt with, it's gonna come up. So you're gonna have to find modalities for dealing with it.
Exactly. Lovely. Amazing. So, and also, you were passionate about dismantling the myth of stress success. That
Yes.
idea that the more you grind, the more you glow.
Yeah.
Why is that narrative is so toxic? I mean, how do we begin to unlearn it?
Yeah, so it's so toxic because a lot of people get to success by overworking.
Hmm.
And since that's the way they achieve their success, that's what they teach to others, right? And so we see them and they're successful and they say, I got here by working all the time. And we think, okay, well, that's what I should not sleep. I should just keep working. Well, that's not a sustainable way to build anything because what you're saying is my physical body, my mental body, and my spiritual body are going to be they're going to be the last thing that I care about here. What I'm going to care about most is just being busy and doing. Another part of that is just because you're busy doing something, it doesn't mean you're being productive. Because you could be busy doing the wrong thing, right? Kind of like when you are exhausted and you really need to rest and let your mind refresh so you can come up with some more creative ideas, but you tell yourself, I can't rest, let me keep going. Nothing good is going to come out of your creative space from you keep going. But you can say, I work 12 hours straight. That's the only thing you're gonna get from it. There's no quality, there's no, there's nothing, creative that's gonna come from it. You're gonna keep going around in circles. So this grind mentality that's been so, out there in social media that people are attracted to and think, where if I can do nothing else, I can work 20 hours a day. If I can do nothing else, if there's nothing else special or creative about me, what I can do is be a laborer. And where that leaves you is you're not happy, you don't have joy, you have no space for peace, you're not
Mm.
being your fully creative self because you're too worn down to tap into your creativity. So you're spinning your wheels and you're wondering, why is it not working for me? Like I'm working hard all the time. Why am I not seeing the results that this person or that person said I would see if I just keep doing this? Right. And it leads you to be burnt out. But you don't realize that you're working with the wrong system. That's not the right system. That's not a holistic system. That's not how you are designed. You're not designed to work 20 hours a day. Right. You're
Correct.
designed to rest and reset and refresh yourself. So that's why the grind culture is so detrimental because one, it makes us not think about efficiencies. So we'll be more willing to do things the hard way because we expect everything to be hard because they said grind. So we don't stop to think about how can I do this more efficiently? Is there someone who's more of an expert at this that I can hire to handle this part of my business for me? We don't think about those things because we're just set on, I just got to do it, roll up my sleeves and do it all myself and work overtime. So those are some of the ways that mentality is detrimental, and it's not even the most intelligent way to think about building anything. Because when you want to build something that's going to grow and be successful, you want it to be efficient, right?
Mm.
You want to be able to use the part of you that's your
Right.
core genius. So if your core genius is, let's say, creating recipes, you don't want to spend your time shopping for equipment. You want someone else to do that because you could have created 100 new recipes while you're out
Mm.
there doing something you're really not in tune with. But the grind culture would tell you, you gotta get the equipment, you gotta learn about what's the top notch, you gotta pour all these hours into this research, and you have to be this great creative person, which is not sustainable and it's not the way we are built to operate.
Lovely. And also, like, I want to talk about joy because I know that you believe women deserves their joy, health, and wealth without sacrifice. So, what does that trifecta look like in practice?
Okay. So joy, health, and wealth. So joy, health, and wealth, what that looks like in practice is that you are building wealth to build a legacy for your family, but
Mm.
you're doing it in such a way that along the journey, you're full of joy and you're taking care of your health too. So the grind culture would have you diminish your health because you're not worried about resting. You're not worried about taking a break, going on vacation. You're not worried about resetting and getting your mind clear so you can make better plans. You're not connecting with community, with like minded people that can exponentially help you grow your business. Because when you're in your own mind, just being in your own mind and talking with two other people is an opportunity for exponential growth. So it looks like taking care of your health, resting when you need to rest. Not you don't need to have a reason. It doesn't have to be I work 10 hours so now I can rest. It can be my body said it's tired. Let me go rest. And get up when my body is renewed and I can do more and my mind is renewed. So that's the health part. Taking care of your body because who wants to build money and then be too diseased or sick to enjoy it, right? So you want to be healthy with your wealth. You also want to have joy. You want to maintain the love in what you're doing.
Mm.
You want to maintain the love in your life. So that means a sense of having joy outside of the work that you do. So it makes you kind of create a synergy between your personal life and your work life to where it's not too much of one or the other, but you give that joy the rightful attention it needs to keep you at your best because you might not know it, but the you full of joy is much more creative than the you overworked, right? So that's why the joy and the health and the wealth is very important because we are starting businesses very quickly, and Black women entrepreneurs are the fastest growing sector of new small businesses. The challenge is staying in business 5 years and beyond because we don't structure it or go at it from the right perspective. So we end up burnt out and we give up and we we stop, we stop growing that wealth. So this is a more holistic way to grow that wealth. So we can last for the long haul. With that joy, you have your health and you have your wealth.
Awesome, lovely. And Leonard, like, thank you so much. You have really brought so much peace, power, and the perspective into this conversation. And you have reminded us that the journey to success doesn't have to feel like a war. We
Mm,
can walk it with the grace, gentleness, and the radical love for ourselves. So, for everyone who is listening, if you are a founder, fixer, or feeler, I invite you to today to pause, to sip something warm, to breathe deeper, and ask, who am I when I choose myself or me first?
mm,
Because you don't need to earn your worth. You don't have to burn out to be brilliant. You don't have to grind to glow.
mm.
You just have to love yourself radically and take those sacred small steps towards the life that already belong to you.
Yes.
So with this hope, this is your host Awake, and uh, you have been listening to Cosmic Confluence. And until next time, treat yourself like the sacred force you are. So thank you so much.
Thank you.